O Show. This is the Big O Show.
No way Emmitt Smith is a better runner than Marshall Faulk. No way. Sorry. I saw them all. No dice. David is who's the better runner, Marshall Faulk or Emmitt Smith? Better runner.
Marshall Faulk.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, Emmitt Smith was just a downhill type of
he was awesome.
Run you over, badass guy. But Marshall Faulk, I feel like he had a little bit more versatility. But I mean, Emmitt's the champ, though, right? So
yeah, no. They're all great. They're all great. But he said the argument with Marcel was that he thought Emmitt was the better runner than Marshall, and I think he's too young. He didn't see both, so I did. So I'll play the old man game, and Marshall Faulk was a better runner, bro.
I'll give you props on the Charles Woodson thing, just because he did win a Super Bowl with Green Bay.
Right. That's why.
But I get where he's coming from. But he did win the Super Bowl.
He's right. He's a Raider. He's right. He is a Raider.
I mean, the tuck rule was, that was him. Yeah. He forced that fumble.
I'll give you a funny story with Charles Woodson. So he's at the combine, and back in the day, they don't do it anymore. The Giants had their own. What's that test that they give you? The test that has nothing to do with football, and they just eliminated the Wonderlic, right? They had their own Wonderlic test, and it was like 500 questions. Seriously, wow. It was like an effing book, and they would give it to all their draft picks. So they would, and it was their own psychological thing. So the Giants were picking like 17th or something like that in the draft that year. You got to look it up there, the year that he got drafted. And so he walks in for the interview. And so they hand him the book he looks at the book. He goes, man, I'm not doing that. Besides, you guys have no shot at drafting me. Because he was going to go top 5 anyway. Yeah. So the Giants were out of that mix. So he goes to the Giants, listen, guys, I'll do the interview, but I'm not doing that book. You got no shot at drafting me anyways. I'm not wasting my time with that book. So he shut that off right away. So he told the Giants.
Yeah. And then the Giants trade up and he's shitting his pants. But
yeah, exactly. Well, if they trade up, it's like, yeah, you see, I didn't have to do the book anyway. Right. So he wins either way. Last night, bro, it was 3-1. It wasn't looking good. They come back and they tie it 3-3, and then obviously lose it in overtime. Your thoughts on last night's game? It looked like they had two different Vasilevskis, by the way, in that game.
No, actually, it's funny that there's this narrative kind of formed last night that Vasilevsky was struggling. Like the goals that he gave up, those 3 goals, like the first one, he was partially screened. A guy went right across his, I think I want to say Corey Perry, but I could be wrong. One of his own guys went right across his vision trying to block the shot. The second one, I think, was the 5-on-3. And then the third one was deflected by, his defense was trying to block it. It was deflected as it went through his 5-hole. And then he played lockdown hockey till the end when, they had that, the turnover by, I think it was, Mikhail Sergachev that led to the overtime goal. But no, I think both goalies played really well. I think Vasilevsky, we may even get like a little chip on your shoulder, Vasilevsky, in game 2, just because of how game 1 rolled out. And because, the 3 goals in the first period, which you would never expect from Vasilevsky. I think they said on the broadcast, it was the first time since 2016 that it happened, that they gave up 3 goals in the first period. So, yeah, I don't think he struggled. I thought it was a fun game. I thought if that was Colorado in any of the other 3 series, they're probably putting up like a 6 or a 7 spot, just because the goaltending they faced the first 3 rounds was nothing compared to Vasilevsky. Right. And he had a lot of really nice saves. I'm just hoping that this is just a prelude to another 6 or 7 game series, because that was fun last night. I really enjoyed that game.
It looked like early on, the speed was catching them by surprise a little bit, and Tampa kind of had to adjust a little bit. And it looks like in this series, Tampa's going to have to find a way to muck it up a little bit and get a little bit more physical with these guys to kind of slow things down.
No, it's not like we haven't seen them do that in the playoffs at all. And I'm not even just saying against the Panthers. That's what they did at the end of the series against Toronto when they were down 3-2 to the Maple Leafs. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the beauty of how good Tampa is that they can change the way that they play and they can kind of switch things up. And it starts with John Cooper behind the bench. Like he knows what his players are capable of. And on the flip side, the players know that they might be asked to do different things in a game. They could be asked to do a dump and chase like we saw a little bit of last night. They could be asked to turn up the physical game, which, I mean, from Panthers standpoint, we know that they could do that as well. And then when you got the fallback on Andrei Vasilevsky in goal, you got Victor Hedman, you got some really good defenders. Sergachev is just a mean son of a bitch out there. He's like one of those guys, kind of like a Radko Gudas that you absolutely hate unless he's on your team. Tampa's just built, man. I've really grown to respect what they do and the way that they can switch up the way they play. Like they are legit.
Yeah, and Point played yesterday too. Picked up an assist yesterday, so that was the other plus. We took him yesterday with plus a goal and a half, so we eked by with half a goal on that one overall. But it looked to me like they had adjusted to the speed in like somewhere in that second period into the third. It looked like Tampa was kind of figuring out a little bit, and they weren't necessarily, overmatched at times around the offensive end.
Yeah, it was interesting, kind of like, because Tampa did get those 2 second period goals, but they were like in a 45-second span or whatever it was. It was like once that first period slowed down, and as you said, like once the game, the pace of the game really started to not be more one-sided and speedy, but a little bit more kind of flowing back and forth. Each team would get their chances. Then you really saw things close down a bit in terms of the scoring chances, which was what I was kind of expecting. Only because like Colorado had a chance to play wide open hockey throughout the Western Conference playoffs. Nashville wasn't really a challenge for them. The St. Louis series was a lot of run and gun. Edmonton obviously was some wide open hockey. Now they're going to play a team in Tampa that can put the clamps down, and that's going to challenge them. That's going to force them to operate in tight spaces. As we saw, like guys like Nathan McKinnon last night, he didn't get much space to operate at all. And that's kind of been all the playoffs. We've seen him make these great plays where he's moving through space in the neutral zone, cutting into the offensive end, going to the center of the ice. He's not going to get those same kind of opportunities because Tampa's, they skate. They shut things down. They give you no room to operate, which is why I'm just excited to see how this series plays out as it keeps going.
Who'd you pick, by the way?
I took Tampa.
Okay, me too. Yeah, I took Tampa too. We'll see. We'll see if they can actually get it done. The All-Star logo was unveiled yesterday. I saw you tweeted it out, and cool thing, man. It's just,
I love it.
It's pretty phenomenal. Is this our third All-Star now?
Second
All-Star. Okay, no, that's right. We had one that was taken away, right, or something like that.
2 years ago,
right?
That was supposed to be here. So
right.
This is kind of like
the make good
makeup.
Right. That's what it is. So
the logo's great. I love it.
Yeah.
I think it was really cool. The colors are good. The font, the kind of the vintage South Florida font. It's not really pretentious at all. It's just very chill. I thought it was perfect. I loved it.
Yeah. Is there, you hear of any plans, anything? Have the Panthers talked a little bit about what they plan to do for that week?
It's going to be spread out. There's nothing like in ink right now, just because the practice facility, I think that Fort Lauderdale element, they want to be a big part of the All-Star celebrations.
Follow-up. All right. So
for sure. It's not going to be a sunrise thing. I would expect this to be spread out all across town. They're going to exploit's not the right term. They're going to show off the new facility that they hope is done. I'm not sure if it's going to be done.
Blocks away from downtown Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. It's perfect, and you've got all these different venues, and they've been establishing those relationships now for a while. Like you just go back not even a year ago to when they announced the Barkov extension. They did that on this rooftop pool downtown Fort Lauderdale. You could see the property of the War Memorial from where we did it. So I'm excited to see what they bring to the table. I haven't heard about anything specific at this time, just because I think they're waiting to see exactly what their options are going to be. But it's going to be cool, like no doubt. And I'm non-Panthers related parties and events as well that I've kind of been privy to that have nothing to do with the team. There's going to be some cool events going on that All-Star weekend and the days leading up to it. I would just say, if you're a hockey fan and you're South Florida and you're looking forward to having some fun, just stay tuned to some of the party announcements and some of the different events that are going to be going on. It's going to be a fun week to be a hockey fan down here.
All right. What are we hearing on the coaching side?
It's not a lot has changed since we spoke last week, Orlando, to be honest. I still think it's trending in the direction of Andrew Brunette and him getting to choose his own assistants. I did reach out to a lead source just to find out if there had been any traction, not necessarily for the Panthers job, but if there had been anything going on in terms of Joel Quenneville and him trying to make a return. And I'm getting radio silence there as well, which it always makes me kind of, furrow my brow a little bit, as opposed to, because usually if there's nothing going on, you'll just say, no, it's nothing going on. So when I hear nothing, I that kind of makes me wonder.
It might be something, and nothing might be something.
Yeah. And again, I'm not trying to say anything. I'm just, that's my interpretation of when I start reaching
You're
out.
not saying anything that nothing is something. I got you. Okay.
Okay, Tony.
Okay.
So,
okay.
but that's something
that nothing is something. Okay, I got you.
It's something that I would maybe just keep an eye out for as we get into the new league year, which is going to start less than a month on the 13th of July. And when we really start to get into next season mode, because the draft is coming up in I think 3 weeks now. It's going to be the 8th and 9th, I believe the 8th and 9th in Montreal, which should be cool also because Montreal got the first overall pick and the draft is in their building. So, as we get closer into this, the next league year, I would think that these dominoes are going to start to fall rather quickly just because, that's how it works. One team makes a move and then everybody else starts to scramble because they want to get their things done and they don't want to get, undercut. So Panthers wise, I'm still everything that I'm thinking. I'm not hearing anything. Nobody seems to be hearing anything, but my impression is it's trending in a brunette way. Like I said last week, I think he's involved one way or another, whether they try to retain him as an assistant, just based on his familiarity with the players and how the great relationships he has and how he knows what they're trying to do. Or if they let him come back as a head coach and continue what he's been building. But I think either way, I'd be surprised if he's not behind the bench next year.
All right, so let's test David Dwork's gut on this. So your gut says that Brunette's going to come back. What's your gut say about Huberdeau? Is he going to come back because he's a year away from a big-ass contract? So will they give him the contract and keep him here? Or what's your gut say about him being a part of a trade for another star? Because obviously they're going to need to move other people, including Huberdeau, if they want to acquire a stud next to Barkov. So what's your gut tell you about Hubie's future, or / what's your gut tell you about bringing in another badass star, which is what I truly believe they need next to Barkov?
My gut tells me that I would expect Huberdeau to be locked up long-term, similarly to the way they did with Barkov, unless viewpoints have changed on either side, which I haven't heard anything to that regard. I think they're both kind of, he wants to be here. The Panthers want to keep him here. They believe in what they're building. I don't think that there's a big knee-jerk reaction going on to what happened in the playoffs, that they need to make all these changes because they were an elite team last season. They should have done more in the playoffs, but they're also learning these lessons as they go along. I don't think a big, any big shift in the foundation is going to be happening. I think the goal is to sign Huberdeau long-term, as they did with Barkov. If you want to dig into my gut a little bit, because I know you'd like a little bit of that gut juice, I question the longevity, not in terms of Huberdeau, but in terms of guys that are 1 year out. I wonder what's going to happen with Mackenzie Weegar. Just because I know that they love the defensemen and they love to hoard them, but he's going to probably going to be garnering a big paycheck. And do they want that flexibility elsewhere? Because where are they going to really get it? Like this year, they may end up trading Patrick Hornquist and getting that, $5 million in some cap space to work with. But outside of that, there's really not a lot of moves to be made. Like there's been rumors that they're working, they're exploring the possibilities, if there are any, of moving Sergei Bobrovsky. That I don't know how viable that is, just because that's a big anchor for any team to be taking on right now. And for the Panthers to retain salary in a move like that kind of defeats the purpose of doing it anyway.
But how many years does he have left now? Because he's been 4 here 3, so he has 4 more. My God, what an albatross!
Oh. So that's why it's just like maybe when they get.
And by the way, wait a minute. Here's the other thing. Aren't we getting to the point now where you got almost crap or get off the pot with Knight too, right? Because what is he, a career backup, or is he finally ever going to get that chance? So in the next year or two, you've got to make that call already with Knight, right? I would imagine.
I don't know if it's crap or get off the pot time. I mean, he's still just 21 years old. He's
I'm
ahead of the
thinking a
game.
year or two. So
Well,
two more.
in 2 years, yeah, that's
Could he be sitting more than 2 more years? And
as a
then
backup.
3 years? Yeah.
No, I wouldn't think so. I
Okay.
think as we've seen them, and again, new coaching staff, potentially things, viewpoints to change. But the way we've seen them handle Knight to this point is they're just very gingerly bringing him along. They're not trying to push him too hard. I mean, we saw last year he went back and forth to Charlotte a couple of times just so he could get playing time. And I think that's what's been clear is that this is a kid that wants to play, that he's better when he's playing. He's going to improve the more he plays. Which you would think will play into their, next year. I'm thinking similar to this year, you would think like a 60-30 type timeshare between the goaltenders would be the goal. But if Knight goes out and he starts playing lights out and he, turns the corner that you expect at some point in the next couple of years for him to turn, just because as he gets into his mid 20s is usually like the first, what's the word? Like the first, milestone.
Signs.
Yeah. Like that, when you get into your like 23, 24, 25 as a young goaltender, that's when you can really make a shift and really your body starts to catch up to your mind a little bit and what you've been learning. But Knight is so ahead of the game. And again, this is going to be the last year of his entry level contract. So you wonder how much playing time does he end up getting this year? How does he end up turning a corner this year? And what impact will that have when he signs his next deal? Because his next deal is usually a bridge deal. You go from ELC bridge deal, then you get your big deal. How expensive is it going to be to get him on this bridge deal, potential bridge deal, if he goes out and has a show-stopping season, as opposed to if they have another year? So, and again, like you can't hope for one or the other because it's not like you're not going to hope for him to play well.
Right.
But the better he plays, the more you may be handcuffing yourself financially. So it's an interesting dynamic that we're going to see play out with the goaltending. And I know for sure that you're going to be keeping an eye on because I know, like me, you like to watch the goalies.
Yeah, no, definitely. I always watch the and plus with Bob, it's kind of become a thing to watch the goalies as it is. But it is they are getting to a point where if you are committed to the kid, you're going to have to make a commitment to him at one point. It may not be this coming year, but I would figure by the following season, the kid has to either show you he's the guy or you're convinced that he's maybe not the guy. And then you start searching for somebody else, at that point. So, all right. And so the other thing, you think Huberdeau is going to stay. So if he is going to stay, then there's really no shot to go get that other star. Because how many players are they going to get rid of in order to accommodate that salary too?
No, well, I mean, I wouldn't discount the idea that they may have another star, coming up on their own roster, and Anton Lundell.
Oh, okay. Okay. From within. Okay.
Yeah, and also they've got a kid named Justin Sourdiff who's going pro this year that just won the WHL championship. He's been tearing it up, and again, it's junior level, but just in terms of prospects that you can get excited about, there's not a lot. The well isn't particularly deep right now. Just because of, they've had to give away a lot of futures in order to build what they have now, and that's a win now team. But I think from within, at least Anton Lundell, perhaps, I'm not totally convinced on a Grigori Denisenko, their first round pick from a few years ago. We found out last week that he had a broken kneecap, and that's why he missed so much time in the second half of the season. Let's see, Heponiemi, he showed some decent signs in limited time in the NHL next year. So it's not the well isn't completely dry, but it's shallow. I'm hopeful. I'm bullish on Anton Lundell. I think I think he's a guy that the front office sees big things for as well. And like Spencer Knight, just, barely old enough to drink. So we'll see. The options are limited. Hopefully these guys work out. If it doesn't, they're in trouble. Because the options aren't going to be very much. I mean, granted, you're not in huge trouble because you've still built a hell of a roster, and you're still going to have Barkov and Huberdeau and these guys locked up. But in terms of those supplemental pieces, it'll be tough.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. All right, follow him on Twitter at David Dwork, and of course, man, you get locked out of your home, you locked out of your car, call alenninglocksmith.com 855-869-5625. Dade, Broward, Palm Beach counties, even our friends, even our Tampa Bay Lightning friends, and also our Orlando Magic friends. You can also call A. Lenny Locksmith. Even our Phoenix Coyote friends can also call A. Lenny Locksmith because we got locations all over there. So make sure you call them 855-869-5625. They also program car keys too, since some of these car keys have to be programmed. David, what are you working on WPLG and the next Chirp in the Cats podcast?
Right now, I am kind of getting all my ducks in a row ahead of the draft and the new league year coming up. I mean, obviously, the coaching the coaching situation is something that we're all keeping a close eye on. But right now, I'm kind of getting everything set up. I might be going to Montreal for the draft. It's a possible move that is still in the works, so we'll see. But there's some prep going. I think even though the Panthers don't have the most flexibility, to think that they're going to be boring in the next month would be a naive viewpoint.
Right.
I think if you've been paying attention to Blvd, there will be something going on. So I'm just kind of enjoying the downtime right now. Watched a little U.S. Open this morning, getting ready for what should be a fun few weeks coming up here in short order.
They're too close, dude. The Panthers are too close to screw around. And Viola and Sifu want to win, man. So those guys are right there in front of Zito's office going, what do we need to do to get over the hump? We need to get over the damn hump.
Dude, the stage is set. Like they got the All-Star game coming here next year. They got plenty of attention this year, but how good they were, the President's Trophy. The table is set. Yeah. They can have a really successful year in a lot of different ways, not just on the ice next season, if they play their cards right.
Yeah, you're a great opportunity to sell the hell out of hockey here in South Florida. Follow him on Twitter at David Dwork. Remember, subscribe also to Chirp in the Cats podcast and catch his work there at WPLG. David, as always, thank you, my brother. Brush up on that French.
Oui, senor. All
right, brother. Be good. There you go. David Dwork getting it done as always.
This is the Big O Show.